Well, this weekend I'm in Italy. This is what I've kind of been prepping for over the last couple of weeks, and that's why a lot of the videos have revolved around preparation and that sort of thing. So all that preparation's done now. So this is a perfect opportunity to catch up on all the questions that you guys have been asking in the comments sections underneath loads of the more recent videos. So this is Thursday night Q&A. First of all, just got to say a huge apology to anyone who sent in messages either on email or on Messenger or in the comments section underneath videos. I've just had a backlog recently and I'm struggling to catch up, so what I'm doing is I'm doing them in little blocks, so I will reply to them all. So a huge apology if you sent something and I've not replied. So I've got a cup of tea on the go. I'm going to crack through some questions now, hopefully clear up all the questions that have appeared in the comments section underneath loads and loads of videos. So hopefully I'm going to be answering your questions. If you had the choice, would you select a free running rig or a fixed rig? There's different occasions. I'll be totally honest with you, for the last 12 months now I've been more on free running rigs, purely because from my own personal point of view I can read bites better. However, if I'm fishing long or there's strong wind blowing and there's strong tow, then I'll love to fish a fixed rig because it just makes it, locks it up and it's a bit more of a fixed rig. So more often than not free running, but there are still occasions where I prefer a fixed rig. How do you decide on what feeder to use in any given situation? The number one thing, Dean Barlow taught me this years ago, was you've got to have enough weight on to get to where you're fishing. It's alright fishing with a nice fancy little feeder that that sits beautifully on the bottom and it casts really nice and all that, but if you're casting that to an area where the fish aren't, then there's no point in it, is there? So the first thing you got to do is make sure you've got enough weight on to get to where you want to fish, and then the next thing is, obviously, as you'd expect, is just don't have any extra weight on. As a general rule, have just enough weight on and the design of a feeder to get you to where you want to fish. How do you make the selection between fish meal or cereal? There's so many different reasons why we use fish meal, why we use cereal. For me, I'll summarise it quite simply. If I'm going for bream and skimmers, more often than not it's a fish meal mix, with the exception of Ireland. For some reason I've not caught with fish meal in Ireland, and if I'm targeting small fish like perch, roach, all that sort of thing, then a cereal mix is generally best. But I think it's worth pointing out that on a lot of fisheries now, even the roach and perch are used to fish meal going in as well, so I am seeing occasions now where not only myself but some other anglers are just using one mix for all species. How do you get to hear about all the matches you fish? The best way is just kind of get linked in. I did a video on this, I don't know when it was, January, February time, so I'll put the link there for you. That is all about, it explains just kind of getting linked in, about knowing where the websites are, where the fisheries are, where they advertise, where they take entries for the competitions, like a lot of them using Facebook now. Some of them you've got to register through the website, and it's just a case of just use Google. Simple as that. It's just the best tool in the world for it. Just go onto Google, type in the name of the fishery or the name of the competition, and it might not always be the first link that appears on the list in Google, but just scroll down, you'll find it, trust me. Do you always use a drill when mixing ground bait? No, I don't. I don't use a drill very often, purely because one is a lot of the mixes I use, there's no real benefit of a drill, and the key benefit of using a drill is really when you're mixing a large quantity of ground bait, and let's face it, I'm a feeder angler, so quite often all I'm using is 2 or 3 pints of ground bait, if that. Might be 4 pints at the max if I'm putting a positive line in. So as you can appreciate, a lot of the venues I go to as well, there's a long walk to them, so I don't want to be carrying a drill and all that sort of stuff. So more often than not I don't use a drill, only when I'm mixing a larger quantity of ground bait. Have you switched over to the Gizmo hook tying tool? No, I haven't. I'll be totally honest with you, it's not an avenue I've even considered, purely because I'm quite happy just using a Matchman hook tire. That's all I use. As regards gizmos, I've been asked about it a few times. The calibre of angler that are using gizmos and the length of time that they've been using the gizmo, it must be absolutely spot on. The quality and everything must be good, and the reliability of it must be excellent, otherwise those lads wouldn't continue to use it. So no, I don't use one, I just use a normal hook tyre. Do you prefer to mix your ground bait the night before or on the day? It's something that I always used to do. I always used to mix it the night before, just purely to kind of give myself more time to set up when I got to my peg and to make sure the ground bait was nice and inert. But to be quite honest, I mix it on the bank nearly every time now, and unless I'm on a festival when I've got loads of time to set up in the morning before we go off to the draw, I will mix it at the digs, seal it in a bag, squeeze all the air out, put it in the ground bait bowl, and then that's it. So nearly always now it's on the morning. What is your favourite venue? For the all-round package as regards the fishery, the layout of the fishery and the headquarters and everything on site, it is Barston. But I've got to say my favourite venue for actually fishing, as regards, you know, turning up and trying to work out how to fish and all that sort of thing, for me it's Southfield, even though I only fish it about 4 times a year. In matches, I love the place. I just love the style of fishing there. You haven't been in many matches lately, is something wrong? No, it's not. No, obviously I'm in Italy this weekend and that's what a lot of the focus has been around. This in effect is the biggest match of my year and I'm treating this as my World Championship. You know, I've only ever fished for England once before in an England shirt, and that was in Serbia, and that was 2 years ago maybe, or 3 years ago, 2 years ago I think. And I just treat that like my World Championship. So, you know, if I'm not going to take a match like that seriously and give it everything I've got, then there's something seriously wrong with me. What is your favourite style of feeder fishing? I love all styles of feeder fishing, I'll be totally honest with you. For the actual approach, fishing wise, if this makes sense, method, I love the method because once you get it right in the right place and it's set right, it's obviously a self-hooking rig and you can just kind of put the rod down and just sit and wait. You know, you just leave it set how it is, you know, and if you've done everything else right and there's some fish there, you're going to catch. And usually with a method, you're able to fish with some kind of, you know, proper size hooks, you know, and some thicker line and stuff, so even if you're hooking big fish on it, the chances are you're going to land them. But as regards actual technique and me as my style, if you want to call it that, I like to fish short, you know, 30 metres, 20 metres, and I like to be busy. I like to fish where you can make bites happen, you know, like a lot of anglers like the pellet waggler, because the pellet waggler generally rewards the hardest working anglers. That's exactly how I am in feeder fishing, you know, and obviously that's not always the scenario, but when that is the case, that is my favourite style. What is your favourite festival of the year? I love them all. I love them all because certainly with the ones this year, because everyone I've done this year and everyone I'm doing this year is completely different from the other. So it's not like I'm doing 5 at Whiteacres, for example, that are all the same. Everyone's been on a different venue, a different country, and a different style, different approach, and everything's been different. For me, it is still, and probably will always be, the World Pairs in Ireland. Are you fishing any more matches abroad this year? I'm currently in Italy, like I say. I'm going to Italy again next month, but I won't be taking my tackle on that. I'll be bank running for the England team. And then I've only got one other trip planned abroad now, and that will be the World Pairs in Ireland in September. We're only into June and I've used up all my holidays for the year, so yeah, that's kind of clipped my wings a little bit. Have you found the best way of killing maggots? I've tried loads of different ways, and they're all ways that you'll have heard about, you know, adding hot water to cold water with the maggots in there and bagging them up, squeezing the air out and all that. I just don't see any benefit in messing about with all that. All I do is squeeze the air out of the bag, tie a knot in it and whack it in the freezer. Simple as that, you know. Can't keep them in there for a mega amount of time, a week, 2 weeks. Any more than that, then they're not as good, but I just find that that is the best and by far the easiest way of doing them. I watched your video at Damflash Reservoir. Is that a day ticket water? Yes, it is. It's not far from where I live in Sheffield. It's just up the road. I'm pointing as though you know where it is, but it's about 6 miles away from where I live. It is day ticket, but there's a machine there. It's like a car parking machine, so if you are going to go up there, I did do a video there. I'll put the link there for you. That was just basically a day's fishing where I went to target some of the bream that I've heard is still in there, because I hadn't fished it since I was a kid. And it's £4.90 for the day, so make sure you've got the right change for the machine. But they also do, I think it's a 1 month ticket, a 3 month ticket, and possibly a 6 month ticket, all which you can obtain from that machine. So if you're going to be going up there a lot, then you'll probably find that's more cost effective. Can you tell me what the biggest lesson is that you've learned from the matches this year? Wow, this is the kind of stuff I love. I love this because, you know, everybody's got their own individual game and you've all got your own opinion about how each match went. The biggest thing, I know exactly what it is because I've thought about it a lot recently, about, you know, the style of fishing that I'm doing and the venues and certainly the events that I'm fishing, because a lot of the events that we're fishing now, I've got different formats, and sometimes that might have a reflection on the way that you fish it. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but some of them you're only fishing to win 10 pegs, some you're fishing to win 20 pegs, and some matches you're trying to win the match. So, you know, there is a little bit of a difference there. The biggest thing I've learned this year, and I know exactly what it is, and it's not covering my options more. I know for a fact that's what it is, you know. In my defence, a lot of the big competitions that I've won and what I've done well at the past is by focusing on 1 or 2 lines and just kind of making them work. But in more recent matches, I should have covered my options more and had, you know, at least 1 or 2 swims or a different bait or something. Not being so kind of narrow-minded. That was certainly an issue in Holland when I was there. And certainly in the Iberian Masters I should have covered my options there. So yeah, I've learned from that, I've rolled with it, I'm going to take that with me into all my future events, and that's all you can do. But it's just be more open-minded, especially on venues that you think you know. How do you attach your hook length nut? Just loop to loop. I'm sure everyone knows that. 2 loops, 1 through that one, and then put the hook through a loop, or you probably know that, everyone should know that. I love watching your videos, they can be a great source of inspiration. Where do you get your inspiration? I found out about a year ago what it is that keeps me buzzing, you know, and it's not just about the surroundings, about being out on the bike. I do love all that. I love, obviously, being away from work, being in the wilderness, in beautiful scenery. That's fantastic, and I love the feeling you get from that. But I only get that feeling when I'm actually out on a pleasure session or a recce or whatever. I don't get that feeling during matches. In a match, I could be sat in the middle of a steelworks, and you've just got to be focused on your match, you know, and it's all about winning that match. For me, my inspiration comes from match results, what other people get and the way that they achieve them, and you know, that's what drives me on. I love it when people turn up to venues they've never seen before and win a match, or do something completely different and it works, because all of a sudden it's thinking outside the box, and that's how you try and stay in front the best you can, you know. And for me, it's that walk up for an envelope. That's where my buzz comes from. You know, I could win a match with £1 or £100. It doesn't really matter. If you win the match, you've won the match. That is it. You walk up and you get your envelope, and it's the walk that keeps me driving forward and just trying to improve. And obviously, I've got goals in fishing that I don't always talk about. But yeah, of course, I mean, I've achieved a hell of a lot in 4 or 5 years as regards backing from some fantastic companies, won some matches and fished in some teams that people could only dream to be part of, you know. But I've still got other goals as well. I have ticked some off that list, but you know, there are other goals that I'm still pushing for, and a lot of them I like to keep to myself, you know, because there's a lot of people out there that are willing to put you down and just kind of try and knock you off your stride, and you can't focus on things like that, you know. It's going back to the inspiration thing. You've just got to set your goal whatever it is, and just keep driving forward. As long as you're not upsetting people along the way, breaking the law and upsetting people who matter to you and who you should respect, then fine, just go for it. What would you consider to be the most important match of your year this weekend? How do you decide whether to fish a cage feeder or a method feeder? I've covered this, I don't know how many times before, but there's no one answer to that, because we never really know. Sometimes we think a method's going to be better and it's not, it's a cage, and vice versa. Basically, if you're just trying to think about a starting point on which to start on, just think about what each feeder is and what it does, okay? Simplest way of thinking about it is a method feeder is a ball of ground bait or ball of pellets, and your hook bait is in the middle. Okay, so fish has literally got to stick its mouth or suck up right on that bait, okay, and that's how it gets caught. But in winter, and sometimes when fish are a little bit cagey, they don't want to be as direct on the feed as that. Sometimes they might be up in the water. So if you're fishing a cage feeder with a 50 centimetre or a metre hook length, a hook bait falling like this just after the feeder goes in, you know, suits itself really towards fish that are feeding up in the water. So if the fish are up in the water, it's warmer, that might be a better option. And the other obvious thing is, if you plan on fishing something like chopworm and castor in a feeder, you can't do that with a method feeder. So that's why a cage feeder can be a lot more advantageous. What has been the biggest improvement to your angling so far? 2 things really. One is 5 years ago I decided to specialise on feeder fishing. There's no way I could have got into the circles that I'm in now had I just, you know, gone and try and competed on venues all over on all disciplines. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't devote the time to prep, the time on the bank, and the commitment to it all. I couldn't do it. So it was specialising. And the other one is a lesson I learned from Dean Barlow again 5 years ago, was about, you know, just looking at every aspect of your kit, just looking at everything about how you can improve it. And the last one here is, will you be fishing many more matches this year? Yes, I've just had a break because I've been focusing on this weekend. You know, I've done a few coaching sessions that people know about, and I've kind of caught up with work, and I've done lots of other stuff outside this channel and my match fishing. I've got loads of matches set up. You can't see, but just there, the wall planner's there. There's still loads of matches on there. I'm back into it. One thing I don't do, I don't fish matches every weekend now where they're 15 and 20 peggers. I just don't do that. I'd rather not fish as many, say 1 a month or 2 a month or whatever, but for those to be bigger matches, you know, ones that really mean something to me, you know, and it's giving me a chance to be on the bank and work on my own game and just enjoy fishing, you know, and keeping me revved up, because when you're not fishing as many matches, I mean, you guys know it, you all work like me most of the year, Monday to Friday. When the weekend comes, you can't wait to get on the bank, and that's because you've just had a bit of a break from it, and it just means you're mad for it at the weekend, and that's how it's working with my matches at the moment. So yeah, there's loads more matches coming up this year. Well, I've really raced through them again tonight. I do apologise. I know these videos aren't for everybody, but I know there's so many people asking questions that I know a lot of you do like these videos, because it's just a bit of an insight into my world and the world that I'm fishing in, kind of thing, and just kind of where a lot of the ideas and thoughts come from as regards my own personal fishing. So if you like videos like this, please click like and share, and if you haven't done already, just hit that subscribe button, you know, jump on board. You'll get a notification every time a video gets uploaded. There's so much more coming. Can't wait to put it all together for you. Like I said, I'm away this weekend, so hopefully I'll be back next week, having had a fantastic weekend away, and I'm going to be putting more videos like this, the Q&A ones, together for you. So as always, just put your questions below, that way I can refer straight back to this video, go down the comments and just kind of put a list together for the next Q&A video. So that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for logging on again, really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all next week.